report our dedication to every program and excel every task because we are dedicated to excellence.
Okay, that was an amazing video profile from AAPG UGM SG, which we are proud to inform you that the video won the first place on AAPG Student Chapter Video Contest Award. Before we advance to the main event, let me deliver the online instruction of participants' guidance for joining this webinar. Okay, the first one, participants are expected to activate the camera if there are no any obstacles. Second, participants are expected to change their name with the format institution_name. Third, participants are requested to turn off the microphone during the speaker's presentation session. Fourth, in the Q&A session, participants are expected to use the raise hand feature first. And then, please activate the microphone and deliver the question after being invited by the MC. The last one, for participants who are unable to activate the microphone, you are allowed to submit your question through the chat box. Okay, I also want to inform all attendees that on this occasion, we will be distributing attractive prizes to 3 lucky questioners, and the winners we will announce in the end of the session. So, before we proceed to the main event, we would like to thank to the speaker, honorable guests, and participants who came to this event today. This event is supported by ExxonMobil Cepu Limited and also PT Kota Minyak Internusa. Here is the company profile videos.
Industri minyak dan gas memiliki peran vital dalam kehidupan kita. Energi dan produk yang dihasilkan tak hanya memenuhi kebutuhan mendasar hidup kita, tapi juga menggerakkan perekonomian bangsa. Sebagai salah satu negara dengan pertumbuhan ekonomi yang pesat, Indonesia terus memacu diri untuk memenangkan persaingan global. Karenanya, energi mutlak dibutuhkan seiring dengan meningkatnya jumlah penduduk. ExxonMobil menjawab tantangan itu dengan membangun fasilitas produksi di Bojonegoro, Jawa Timur, fasilitas kelas dunia dan berteknologi tinggi bernama Lapangan Banyu Urip yang saat ini dapat memproduksi hingga lebih dari 220.000 barel per hari atau sekitar 30% total produksi minyak nasional. ExxonMobil terus berkomitmen untuk selalu mendukung pertumbuhan Indonesia melalui pasokan energi dan produk-produknya secara berkesinambungan hari ini dan nanti.
Okay, thank you for the support that give to us. Now, we are going to move to the main, a webinar brought to you by IES 2021, and the material will be delivered by our honorable speaker, Mr. Insinyur Muhammad Riyandi Anindikayudi, STMN IPM. So, Mr. Riyandi is a field engineer at Pertamina Hulu Rokan. His job varies from working with the seismic, reliability engineer, and process safety engineer. After graduated from Engineering Physics Institute Teknologi Bandung, Mr. Riyandi attained his master degree in Mechanical Engineering Universitas Gadjah Mada. Throughout his career journey, he achieved exceptional milestone for top 10 graduates in Eastern Hemisphere at Halliburton Technical Training Program in Cairo, leading multiple digital transformation initiatives, top 10 finalist Lambercy Delphi Data Science Hackathon in 2021, and so on. So, without much to say, let's just go straight to our amazing speaker. To Mr. Riyandi, time and the screen is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Mas Sulaiman. Good morning, everyone. Hope you're having a good day out there. And thank you for joining us in and the weekend, yeah, I guess weekend should be for family time, and here you are listening to me. I hope that I could deliver values to you through my presentation. Could you please share the screen? I'm so sorry, my laptop broke down, so I'm depending on the committee to share my presentation. Okay, today I would like to share to you about a case study which is an extension of my master degree thesis, and it's in line with the topic, the theme that the International Energy Summit brought, which is about the energy transition, carbon capture, and all the high-tech IT technology that's been used in the oil and gas or energy industry. Okay, next, Mas. Okay, this is a short intro. You already seen what the committee has prepared. So just to make sure that you know, you are confident that I know what I'm talking about. Throughout my career, I've been in the oil and gas industry, even after I graduate until now, and I've been doing so many digital projects, and one of them is the concept that I'm going to deliver today. Next, Mas. So this is the back. Let's go back. Okay, so this is what we're going to cover today. I'm going to share to you about the world energy mix, and then its relation with the greenhouse emission. Then straight to the case study, which is about the internal combustion engine usage in the oil and gas industry, and how we use the IIoT and machine learning technology to reduce the emission caused by the internal combustion engine activities. And these are the 5 key messages that I hope you would grasp by the end of this presentation. Fossil fuel, contrary to the popular belief, is still the most heavily used source of energy, with make up more than 50% of the energy mix, and it will continue to do so in the next 30 to 50 years. However, fossil fuel also contributes to more than 30 gigaton CO2 emission. That's a lot of CO2 produced, yeah, from the operation using fossil fuel. And one of the sources for CO2 emission production for the upstream oil and gas industry is the operation of internal combustion engine. And to lower the emission from the internal combustion engine operation, we could use some kind of control for the combustion process. And AI, in conjunction with IoT, help to optimally control the combustion process, thus lowering the emission generated. Okay, next, Mas. Here's a report from BP Statistical Review of World Energy for this year. Yeah. As we can see, more than 60% of world energy consumption is fulfilled by fossil fuel. Fossil fuel here consisted of oil, gas, and coal. And among the three, 70% from fossil fuel is sourced from oil and gas. So we are still heavily reliant on the fossil fuel for energy sources. And if we are following the news now, oil and gas, also coal prices are ramping up, soaring high because the demand for oil and gas and coal still high, even at all-time high now, despite the pandemic, because we're entering winter and there's shortage of energy in Europe and in China, so on. So yeah, we will still see fossil fuel as the primary source of energy in times to come. This is the good news and bad news actually for us. Good news for those who are working in the oil and gas industry or studying a major related to the oil and gas industry, because the job will still be there. The bad news is, next slide. Next slide, please. Okay, this is the bad news for Mother Earth. This means that we're going to ramp up carbon and greenhouse gases emission. This is taken from International Energy Agency Global Energy Review for the year, and we could see that carbon emission from energy-related activities increases by around 50% in the last 30 years. That's quite significant, yeah. And the source for the carbon emission is from energy generation using coal and oil as the primary fuel. So that's the bad news. And where is this carbon coming from? Okay, next, please. This is one of the source. Yeah, it's internal combustion engine. If you have learned through thermodynamics or basic physics, I remember basic physics about thermodynamic cycle. Internal combustion engine uses the thermodynamic cycle to convert chemical energy into mechanical energy. There are many cycles that's been used, like Brayton cycle for gas turbine. There is a Otto cycle for our vehicle, diesel cycle for our vehicle, and some of the power generator. And that's exactly what these engine are used for driver or primary mover to drive the pumps, big pumps to ship the production. There emergency generator, there's gas compressors, and obviously vehicle, and also we use them for power generator. Most of the power used in the oil and gas upstream operation usually comes from itself, yeah, from their own operation, not tied into the PLN, because we need very high intensity of power to support our operation. And if we pull in from PLN, that would disrupt the power source for the other industries and domestic usage. So that's another big concern for the upstream oil and gas industry, that we are using our own. We have our own power generation plant, which heavily use the internal combustion engine. Next, please. Next. So next is about where is the carbon coming from the operation of the internal combustion engine. So basically, to know where the these greenhouse gases coming from, we need to know how the engine is operated. Internal combustion engine uses heat, uses heat with combined with chemical to produce work. One of them is through this reciprocating piston, So this is basic thermodynamics. You put in what is it? Volume of air. You compress it to a certain pressure. Then you inject fuel so that the two will mix. And depending on what kind of cycle you're using, you either ignite, put an igniter so that there will be an explosion that will drive the piston to work, or you're using the auto ignition pressure and temperature of the fuel to auto ignite and then produce power. And because there's an explosion and ignition, there is a combustion process there. And if we see here, during the combustion process, two types of dangerous greenhouse gas emission is produced. First is NOx. It is formed roughly 20 degrees crank angle after start of combustion, and it's highly influenced by temperature. So at a high temperature, NOx production will be high. And another one is CO, carbon monoxide, which is formed where the amount of fuel is the amount of fuel present is more than the amount of air present for burning. And that could be categorized also by low air to fuel ratio. Usually this is during the startup where the amount of air is less than the amount of fuel available. So here we could see that to control NOx and CO, we need to control at least two variables. First is the temperature of the combustion chamber, and the second one is the air to fuel ratio. Next, Mas. Okay, this is one way to control emission by retarding the injection timing. Retarding the injection timing meaning that we inject the fuel at a later time than it usually injected, and that is done by tuning the engine. By retarding the injection timing, we could shorter the ignition delay, which means that we will reach maximum temperature faster, and because the cycle will still the same, we will reach the minimum temperature faster too during the release stroke, thus forming less NOx emission. However, next, Mas. By doing so, we will increase CO2 emission because the combustion process will be shorter, therefore the combustion will not be perfect. And so using this method, we need to trade off between NOx and CO emission. By retarding, we will lower the NOx emission, but increase the CO emission. Therefore, we need to add another another technique to control the emission. Next, Mas. That is by varying the air to fuel ratio. So by adding more air to the combustion chamber, we could reduce both CO2 and NOx emission. This is done by usually using a turbocharger or supercharger for auto or a diesel-based engine, and for CO2 it could be decreased because all fuel will be burned. There abundance of air for the oxidation process, for the burning process, while for NOx, more fluid for cooling, which means the temperature will be decreased, and NOx emission also decrease. Next, Mas. So how does those two, all those relate to IoT and AI? So we're using IoT and AI to control emission. IoT provides the data collection and the control system needed to sense all those combustion variables, the air to fuel ratio, the ignition timing, the injection timing, while AI uses all those data that's collected by the IoT and the control system to predict the emission that would be formed based on the historical data, and this could be used to optimize the control system so that the emission could be reduced. Next, Mas. If you're still confused on what I'm saying, this is actually what I meant. Yeah. So we have this IoT and control system to control the ignition, the burning process, by controlling the air to fuel ratio and ignition control. And from the sensor, from the IoT, we sense the NOx emission, the CO emission, the temperatures in the cylinder, the ignition timing, injection timing, and air and fuel flow rate. And then we feed that to an AI model to predict the NOx and CO emission. The predicted model, the predicted result is then fed into the control system, where we set what desirable NOx and CO emission level that we want, and thus that would be fed if there is any difference between the predicted and the desired emission, that will be fed to the control system to retune the engine so that we could sense that the NOx emission and CO emission is lower at the output. Next, Mas. So this is the control system, just an illustration, of what we did. It controls the burning process by modulating the fuel and air intake valve based on the gas emission measured at the exhaust. And from this control system, we acquired the oxygen concentration data, the fuel flow rate, airflow flow rate, and ultimately the NOx emission and CO emission. Next, Mas. This is one of the control system. Then the other one is the ignition control system. This control system control the combustion process by adjusting the ignition and injection timing based on the cylinder temperature. Here we get the cylinder temperature data, ignition timing data, and injection timing data. Next, Mas. And all of those data, we are putting them through the machine learning pipeline so that it could be used to predict the NOx emission and CO emission. For this application, I'm using the regression model because all of these data are numerical data, so that we could we could relate the variables using regression algorithm. It's very simple. This is actually very simple if you put it in practice. It looks complicated because I'm just telling you the abstraction of it. Next, Mas. And the prediction result, this is based on my thesis data. It's very, very accurate. Yeah, the mean square error is only 1% for NOx and 5% for CO. So by applying this algorithm into the control system, we get a very accurate prediction result that will optimize the performance of our control system. Next, Mas. However, there is a limitation and further studies and improvement opportunities for this case, yeah. Because the case study presented here only applies to a specific type of internal combustion engine and used in a specific operation. To make the model more general, the variability of operating condition and type of equipment should be expanded. So we should take more data. Short. Okay, next, Mas. Okay, I guess that's all I could share to you. Hopefully, you could gain something from my presentation. So it's very, very possible to utilize all the cutting edge technology for optimizing our operation in oil and gas, so that we could achieve lower carbon operation, and hopefully it will bring us closer towards the goal for carbon neutrality, zero carbon in 2050. Okay, if you have any question, please just raise your hand.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Yandi. That was an amazing and interesting topic, and there's so much new insight for us to learn. For all attendees, we are now entering the Q&A session, and for all participants who want to ask some questions, please use the raise hand feature and you can turn on your microphone for chosen questioner. Besides of that, questions can also be delivered through the chat box and I will help you to read it out. So, anyone want to asking or questioning about what was Mr. Yandi explained about how IoT and AI control those combustion emission? Okay.
There's a question here in the chat box
from Bahrun Estuaji from ITB. First of all, I'm so sorry that I can't turn on my microphone due to the crowd and conductivity issue. First, you said that 16% of energy needs still use fossil fuels if we refer to the Paris Agreement. How ready is Indonesia to realize that agreement, considering the emergence of technology to suppress greenhouse gases? And the second one, regarding the material you conveyed, has this mechanism been applied massively in Indonesia? If not, what are the challenge and obstacle? Okay.
Okay, Mas Bahrun. How ready is Indonesia to realize that agreement? Considering again, this will highly dependent on how our government support the energy transition. If we see actually by using renewables, there will also be another problem created. First of all, it would be mining of the required metals to support the renewable operation. You know that renewable operation will need tons of nickel, tons of silver. I remember silver is for the solar PV channel, and nickel is for battery, and all these mining operation is highly intensively use energy. And where does this energy came from? It's not going to be from renewables, because renewables suffer from consistency in delivering the energy. I mean, there's a lot of intermittency in the operation. You're not going to have sun from morning to another morning. There will be nights where there is no sun. There will be rainy season where the sunlight is low, and that also applies for solar, for the wind turbine or any other. The most reliable one would be geothermal, but geothermal suffers from issues regarding community. They're usually located near the feet of a volcano, where there are many villages there, little access to infrastructure. So it's a massive investment to develop geothermal, and also it's only limited to several places, and I don't know if at our current rate will geothermal be ready to fulfill the required the required megawatt to support our all of the industries in Indonesia. Well, that's still subject to discuss. However, we know that oil and gas, coal is mature and is ready to support. So that's why I'm telling you, whether if the government support us in the energy transition by giving incentive and so on, I guess we'll be ready. But in my personal opinion, it's still a long time to go. For the second one, no, it has not been massively applied. I'm still at the early stage for the research. That's why this is actually like an expansion of my master degree. My master degree topic is only for the development of the AI model, while for the application to control system is still it's still a concept, not yet applied, because if we want to apply something like this in a mature operation, there is still there is still process, many other process for review and approval to apply this. I hope that could answer your question. There's Mas Bayu. Hello, Mas Bay. Specify the IoT device. Well, we're using a conventional sensor, not yet IoT based. So the IoT concept, as I mentioned before, it's still a concept, but it could be done, given that we're expanding in that area. So if this application would be piloted, or if the management decided to try this application, then we would use a more IoT-like device for this application, and it cannot be in-house fabricated, because for oil and gas application, we have to comply to the ISA standard, where the API standard, where the technical specification is a bit conservative, yeah. It's a class 1 div 1, class 1 div 2 area where it's easy to ignite fire. So we have a special design for it. I hope that answer your question for the IoT device use. Okay, how significant are these technologies? Oke, ini Mas Chandra ya. Oke, beside Indonesia, how significant are these technologies in maintaining the existing massive reservoir? Okay, well, from my literature side, there has not been any implementation outside Indonesia, so I could proudly say that this this concept is still new, not yet applied. People are still focusing on the CCUS, yeah, carbon capture underground storage, as a solution for reducing carbon. Not yet. Not yet looking at what can be done with the existing platform. So yeah, I have not yet seen massive implementation for this, except for the automobile. Yeah, I guess in automobile they have in some European automobile, I forgot the company name. They're using some kind of AI to automatically tune their engine so that the emission could be lower. But for big industries like the oil and gas, not yet. This is a boring technology actually. You won't get a lot of credit, a lot of big projects coming from it. I could estimate that this could be like a small capital project. Not good for your career if you want to pursue this only, yeah. Because if you want to jumpstart your career, you need to think of big major capital projects, because when you're talking big money, yeah, management will see what you did, and if you're successful in it, that will jumpstart your career to higher position. So no, not significant yet for the application, but for maintaining greenhouse gases, if this is applied, it would be significantly impacted in maintaining. There won't be fatal accident in the implementation, because this is a very low risk activity. You're just installing sensor, installing control system, usually done when the equipment is shut down. So yeah, not many health or safety risks regarding the implementation of this technology. I hope that answer your question. Okay, any other question?
Okay, is there anyone asking a question or want to know more about the detail on how this technology could estimate those greenhouse gas? Maybe anyone? Or is it clear?
I hope it's clear. It's a very short presentation, very applicative solution, and yeah, it's not rocket science, but it will be effective in helping us reduce or even maintain the current level of the greenhouse gas emission.
Okay, Mr. So anyone wanna asking another questions maybe?
Or is there anyone, or are you guys still confused about what? That could be another.
Okay, let's wait until 9:05.
Is there a question from the committee? Well, I'm a bit, what is it? Personally, the topics that you guys gave me, that's a bit hard because in the oil and gas industry, we want oil and gas still be the #1 source because that's what we're good at. Transitioning into something else requires a lot of investment, and given the current economic condition where COVID is still there, big investment is avoided. So, yeah. Even though we need to transition, I know deep inside for oil and gas industry, we still want to produce oil and gas because that's where we're good at, and that's and because we are good at it, we know how to implement good capital stewardship to make the operation profitable and also environmentally friendly.
Mr. There is a question from Mr. Fadli. I'm curious regarding to energy crisis in Europe and other countries. Can this technology of IoT and AI can solve any case like that in the future?
Okay. Well, this technology can solve the issues for gas emission only, yeah. But for energy security, that's a different topic. And for energy crisis in Europe, this is regarding the energy security. We know that Europe, they are no major energy source located there. We know that the North Sea, where Brent crude is coming from, it's already the production is already depleting. It won't be enough just to feed one nation. Moreover, to feed the whole continent. They could depend on Russia, but we know that Russia and Europe, the relationship is not that good. So yeah, what they can do to provide energy for them, reliable energy for them, is to import from us, Indonesia, or from Russia, or from Middle East, and so on. That's why actually from the articles that I've read, the main reason why Europe is the one that's leading the energy transition is because they don't have adequate access to the fossil fuel-based resources. So if any of the countries usually supporting them for energy, fossil fuel energy sources, cut ties with them, yeah, they're doomed. As simple as that. So yeah, regarding the energy crisis in Europe, that won't be solved by using this technology, but for other countries that heavily use and produce fossil fuel, yeah, this could be an alternative solution to maintain or even reduce the emission of the greenhouse gases. Hopefully that would answer your question.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Yandi, for the answer. I hope Mr. Fadli can get the point of this ensures. Okay, is anyone wanna asking a question? Okay, since there are no questions from all of the participants, and I think it's already clear, so maybe that's enough for the Q&A session. Thank you very much. Once again, I convey to Mr. Yandi for the great presentation and discussion today, and allow us to present the speaker certificate to Mr. Yandi. To Ms. Felicia, as President of AAPG UGM SG, I invite you to guide certificate handover ceremony.
Thank you so much for Mr. Andy for having us today with your great presentation. And we hope that in the future you will willing to share with us again. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Willis. And maybe we can do the photo session to capture today's activities. I respectfully request all of the attendees to turn on the camera because soon we will take several pictures of us. Thank you. Okay, I'm still waiting all of you to get ready for the photo session. We will wait until 10 o'clock sharp. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, guys, for the time. I hope that you could gain something from my presentation while waiting for 10 o'clock. Yeah. If you have any further question that we would like to ask, you could just send me a message through my LinkedIn. I'm quite active in LinkedIn. Hopefully, yeah, I could help you in answering some of your questions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Yandi. So, okay, because of several participants are already activate the camera, so let's get start the documentation session. I will start from the first page. 1, 2, 3. Once again, 1, 2, 3. Okay, for the next page, 1, 2, 3. Once again, 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you very much, Mbak Felis and Mr. Yanda, for sure. It is such an awesome insight. We hope this event today will give lifetime benefits to all of us. So finally, we arrive at the end of the session. My name is Sulaiman, and I sincerely apologize for any mistakes I've made in presenting as the Masters of Ceremony. And again, we would like to thank you to ExxonMobil Cepu Limited and also PT Kota Minyak Internusa for supporting us on the International Energy Summit 2021. Once again, thank you very much and see you again in another session of International Energy Summit 2021. Good afternoon and have a nice day. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. To all attendees, you are welcome to leave this meeting room.
Okay, thank you very much, guys. See you.
See you, Mas.
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
Indonesia
is on the cusp of a full-blown coronavirus disaster.
The new coronavirus is too small to recognize, yet easy to spread from person to person. This pandemic of COVID-19 has left us tossed around in confusion and created an immense influence on the whole world. We're shaken and trembled by this phenomenon. The collapsing health service and economy, disruption on accessing education, and some social connections have vanished. Indonesia, the country we live in, struggles to flatten the curve. There's fear, there's sorrow, but here we can find hope. Established in 2000, AAPG UKM SE is consistent in maintaining its quality for both the academic and organizational side. Without the strong connection of each member, there will be no rising spirit to thrive through this uncertain period. The distance never can defeat us in developing ourselves and becoming tougher and braver, taking numerous chances ahead. Determination is the accurate concept to describe us, as we are focused on managing our human resources through collaborating and learning to prosper our nation, even in the hardest times. With several activities being held from home, we're able to hold some virtual meetings to discuss oil and gas knowledge as well as recent issues, including a virtual Mahaka field trip with an online sharing session, numbers of oil and gas topic courses, trainings, and also other sharing sessions with all of the members of AAPG UKM SE. AAPG UKM SE also successfully held our annual event, International Energy Summit 2020. With participants from several countries as well as speakers from the expertise around the globe. We share our awareness to surroundings to help the people to pass through the situation by having a charity and giving knowledge to keep them safe during the pandemic. Becoming the pillar of the AAPG student chapter in Indonesia, we're successfully representing the manifestation of teamwork, intelligence, and dedication. It is proven by our achievements since we're established. Here we are with the several honorable mentions as well as achievements gained by the members. AAPG UKM SE manages to adapt to improve from the unreliability moments. We're continuously working towards establishing AAPG UKM SE and becoming an excellent organization based on professional and teamwork culture, along with supporting our members in enhancing technical and non-technical competences as future petroleum geologists. Though it might be a challenge, this current pandemic situation will not be stopping us from giving forth our dedication to every program and excel every task, because we are dedicated to excellence.
Industri minyak dan gas memiliki peran vital dalam kehidupan kita. Energi dan produk yang dihasilkan tak hanya memenuhi kebutuhan mendasar hidup kita, tetapi juga menggerakkan perekonomian bangsa. Sebagai salah satu negara dengan pertumbuhan ekonomi yang pesat, Indonesia terus memacu diri untuk memenangkan persaingan global. Karenanya, energi mutlak dibutuhkan seiring dengan meningkatnya jumlah penduduk. ExxonMobil menjawab tantangan itu dengan membangun fasilitas produksi di Bojonegoro, Jawa Timur, fasilitas kelas dunia dan berteknologi tinggi bernama Lapangan Banyu Urip yang saat ini dapat memproduksi hingga lebih dari 220.000 barel per hari atau sekitar 30% total produksi minyak nasional. ExxonMobil terus berkomitmen untuk selalu mendukung pertumbuhan Indonesia melalui pasokan energi dan produk-produknya secara berkesinambungan hari ini dan nanti.